Chosen one, stop everything. This is urgent. God has been waiting 2 hours, watching something unfold around you, watching someone move in your direction, watching a plan being executed that you knew nothing about. And after 2 hours of watching, he decided you needed to know. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. Because what was happening around you was not random. It was not coincidence. It was an investigation. And the investigator just got caught by God himself. Who the investigator was, this was not a stranger. This was someone close, someone with access, someone who smiled in your face while quietly gathering information, watching your moves, studying your patterns, noting your vulnerabilities, cataloging your weaknesses, building a case against you from the inside. They presented themselves as safe, as loyal, as someone who was genuinely in your corner. But behind the warmth, behind the concern, behind the questions that felt like care, was a mission to find what they could use, to discover what they could report, to uncover what they could expose at the most strategic moment, when it would cause the most damage. They were not just watching casually. They were investigating deliberately, with purpose, with intent, with a specific outcome in mind. And they thought they were hidden. They thought no one could see them. They thought the performance was convincing enough. But God sees everything, every motive, every movement, every conversation held about you behind closed doors, every piece of information gathered under the disguise of friendship. God saw all of it, and he waited, not because he was slow, because he was strategic. He let them continue long enough to expose themselves completely, to reveal every connection, every collaborator, every part of the plan, and then he moved.
Why God waited 2 hours? Because God does not react, he responds. And his responses are always perfectly timed. In those 2 hours, while the investigator was still moving, still gathering, still feeling confident in their plan, God was watching every detail unfold, identifying every person involved, noting every piece of information they thought they had, mapping the entire network of who sent them, who they reported to, who was waiting on the other end for what they were collecting. God needed you to see the full picture, not just the person, the entire operation, so that when he moved, when he exposed, when he dismantled what was being built against you, nothing would be left hidden. No loose end, no secondary threat, no backup plan the enemy could activate later. God was being thorough because he loves you too much to do this halfway. He waited 2 hours so that when he acted, he could act completely. How the investigator was caught. God has ways of exposing what is hidden that human strategy cannot anticipate. He moves on the hearts of people. The investigator trusted someone they should not have, said something to the wrong person, moved at the wrong moment, left evidence they thought was invisible, or God simply turned the light on in a situation that was designed to stay dark. And in that light, everything became visible. The motive, the method, the mission, the people behind it, all of it exposed, not by your effort, not by your investigation, not by anything you said or did, by God, who moved in His time, in His way, with a precision that left no room for denial. The investigator could not explain their way out, could not reframe what was found, could not minimize what was exposed, because God does not do partial exposures. When He reveals something, He reveals it completely. And what was revealed about this person left no room for the story to be spun differently. The truth was undeniable, and they were caught. What they were trying to find. They were looking for ammunition, something they could use to discredit you, to damage your reputation, to shake the confidence of people who believed in you. They were looking for leverage, something that would give them power over you, that would put you in a position where staying silent was your only option, where fighting back would cost you too much, where the exposure of what they found would be more dangerous than whatever they were demanding. That was the plan, and they were confident in it. They thought they had what they needed or were close to getting it. But God interrupted the plan before it could be completed, before the weapon could be fully formed, before the ammunition could be delivered. And His word is clear: no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Not this weapon, not this investigator, not this plan. None of it.
What this reveals about the spiritual battle around you. This was not a small attack. People do not send investigators against irrelevant targets. They do not build operations against people who pose no threat. The fact that this level of effort was put into coming against you tells you something important. You are more significant than you have allowed yourself to believe. The calling on your life is more threatening to the enemy than you have given it credit for. What God has placed inside you, what God has planned for your future, is significant enough that the enemy felt the need to move against you strategically, not casually, not randomly, with a plan, with resources, with someone positioned close enough to do real damage. That level of opposition is reserved for people whose assignment is extraordinary. The size of the attack is always proportional to the size of the threat you represent. And what was sent against you was significant, which means what God has planned for you is extraordinary. What God is saying to you about this: I saw it before it started. I knew the plan before they formed it. I knew the investigator before they accepted the assignment. I knew every step they would take, every piece of information they would look for, every person they would report to, and I allowed it long enough to expose it completely. Not to frighten you, to protect you. Because a threat you cannot see is more dangerous than one you can, and I wanted you to see this one fully, clearly, so that you would know who is for you and who was performing being for you, so that you would know what was being built against you in secret, and so that you would know that nothing built against you in secret survives my light. Not this, not ever. You are covered, more completely than you know, more protected than you can see. And what was sent to destroy you just became the evidence of how far I will go to protect what I have placed on your life. What you need to do right now. Do not confront in anger. What God exposed, let Him handle. The temptation will be to react emotionally, to confront directly, to expose publicly, to match the energy that was sent against you. Do not. Your job is not to punish them. Your job is to protect yourself moving forward. Let God be the judge. He is better at it than you are, and His judgment is more complete, more just, more perfectly timed than anything you could engineer in your anger. Increase your discernment.
This situation is a reminder that not everyone with access to your life has your best interests at heart. Be more careful, not paranoid, careful about what you share, with whom you share it, and how much access you give to people whose loyalty has not been proven by time and trial. Pray for clarity. God exposed one. Ask Him to show you if there are others. Ask Him to give you eyes to see clearly who is genuinely assigned to your life and who is assigned to monitor it. The answer will come in ways only God can deliver. Trust them when they do. Thank God for the protection. What could have been used against you was stopped before it could fully form. That is not luck. That is the hand of God covering what He placed on your life, protecting what He invested in you. Honor that protection with gratitude, with faithfulness, with a life that proves His protection was not wasted on you.
What happens to the investigator now? What was built in secret against you has been dismantled. The information they gathered, the plan they were executing, the people they were working with, all of it exposed. And exposed plans lose their power, because the power of a hidden plan is in its hiddenness. The moment it comes into the light, the moment it is seen for what it is, the power dissolves. And what they thought was a weapon in their hands just became evidence against them. God is not finished with this exposure. What was done in the dark is being brought into the light, fully, completely, in a way that removes all ability to reframe, to minimize, to pretend it was something other than what it was. And the consequences of what they chose to do will find them. Not because you sent them, because God is just, and justice always finds what injustice tried to hide. A word for the ones who feel shaken by this. It is okay to feel unsettled. Finding out that someone close was investigating you is not a small thing. It shakes the foundation of trust. It makes you question who else you misread, who else was performing loyalty while secretly gathering ammunition. It is okay to sit with that for a moment, to process the betrayal, to grieve the version of the relationship you thought you had. But do not stay there long, because what God revealed was not meant to paralyze you. It was meant to protect you, to reposition you, to remove a threat before it could fully execute. And in doing so, He actually showed you something powerful, that He is watching, that He is working, that nothing moves in your direction without His knowledge, and nothing that moves against you gets to finish its assignment, not while He is watching. And He is always watching.
Final word. God waited 2 hours, and in those 2 hours He saw everything. The investigator, the plan, the people behind it, the mission they were on, and He moved. At exactly the right moment, with exactly the right exposure to protect exactly what needed protecting. You, your name, your future, your calling, everything that was being targeted, God covered it. Before the weapon could be finished, before the plan could be executed, before the damage could be done, because that is what He does for His chosen ones. He does not just bless them, He protects them. He does not just favor them, He covers them. He does not just love them, He fights for them. And He fought for you today in ways you were only beginning to understand. The investigator was caught, the plan was dismantled, the threat was neutralized, and you are still standing, still covered, still chosen, still protected by a God who never takes his eyes off what he loves. In the comments, write, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," or the number 777, or God caught them before they could finish. Subscribe and stay close. Chosen one, they sent someone to investigate you, but they forgot something. God was already investigating them, and what he found changed everything. Amen.